welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. It is Monday, your day for video game discussions here at AW Games. I'm Evil Uno, as always, joined with my good friend, the Chugs. How you doing, Chugs?
Yes, I'm doing great, Uno. Happy Monday. Well,
Happy
I know
Monday.
we're not filming this on a Monday, but to everyone listening, happy Monday to you. I'm
Yo.
doing great. It's been a great week of gaming.
It has. I don't know about you on your end, but I actually played an immense amount of video games this week. But I think you're actually going to have a wider spread of video games because you've been Twitch streaming so many of them. But I actually only played a few of them. This week I played... So last week, actually, I do want to precede this because last week I started talking about Blueprints.
Yes.
And I had only played one sitting of it for one day, and I was talking about it so highly. And now I'd like to say, a week later, I've already seen credits to the video game. I reached...
Wow.
So the game's concept is that you are trying to get to a 46th room in a location that only has 45 rooms. And all I can tell you without challenging your ideas of what the game is about and without spoiling late game stuff, I have gotten to the 46th room. I did see the roll credits for the video game, but, and this took me about 25 hours to get to, I'm now 20 hours beyond that. I have now gone much further than that. There is a ton of post-credit content in this game. In fact,
Nice.
for as big as I playing this game, every few runs I would unlock a thing or I would learn a concept. Because if you did not know, if you were not listening about my little rant about Blueprints last week, it's a puzzle game. The way it is you enter into a mansion, and it is a roguelike. The first door is your entranceway, and you have 3 doors, one on each side, forward, left, and right. And you get to enter one of those rooms and decide from your draft pool of three rooms what room you put next. And initially, the game seems like, okay, I have to get to the very end point, which is room 46. But as you progress in this game, you start realizing the rooms are not what they seem. They're actually puzzles of their own. The way they're laid out on the grid, 9x5, is a puzzle of its own. One room needs another room to interact with another room. So there is so much minute stuff for you to unlock within a run that if you're like doing a checklist, which at some point in the video game, after you roll credits, there's a literal checklist of things to do. You start realizing that every run you have, you can get a little bit closer to a goal. It may not be the big goal, but there are a series of goals. So anyways, now that I have passed roll credits, I am seeing that if it took me 25 hours to get to what is room 46, it's going to take me 90 hours to complete this checklist probably, and also see everything I want from it, because I was constantly amazed with this game. Every time I would make advancement, because a lot of the advancement in the game is knowledge-based, but the second I would learn knowledge, I'd be like, I cannot believe I did not see this. It was in plain sight the whole time. I just didn't understand what it was. And that moment happens every 3 runs now. Like, every 2-3 runs, I have a moment where I can't believe this whole time I never thought there was something to do with this. And now I have to rethink my whole approach on my run, because now I know that, a marker in a room means a certain thing. I don't want to disclose any of that stuff. That's why it's very hard. I'm trying to be spoiler-free here. All I'm saying is go play Blueprints, because it is, if you're a puzzle guy like me, it is a puzzle box within a puzzle box within a puzzle box, and it will only unravel to more puzzles. And the lore behind the game is starting to get to a point where it feels like one thing, like okay, so here's where it is.
Now we're cooking. Now we're getting juicy.
Now we're talking.
We're talking.
So Blueprints, the concept is that you inherit your uncle's home. You are like an 11-year-old who walks into your deceased uncle's home, but the only way you get your inheritance is if you get to room 46. If you can solve the puzzle of his home, you can get the inheritance. That's like the original overarching story. What happens is that the further you get into this, you unravel this big, like, tree of family, a bunch of information about your family, a bunch of information about, like, this makeshift country's political dramas in the past, and then you start deciphering like there's a heist plot in there, there's a kidnapping plot in there, there's like melodrama between the family, and you're slowly trying to piece together all of that. And what started as me just trying to solve puzzles is now me actually trying to solve like what the hell is going on right now, which is a great feeling. I'm having such a blast. I don't want to talk about this for 2 hours straight, but if you have not played Blueprints, go play it. It's on Game Pass right now. It's also on PS Plus Premium. Well worth your time a try. If you're trying this, I will tell you this though: your first run will seem like you do nothing because you did nothing. It will take 3-4 runs before you might start picking up on some of the patterns as you're playing, and it will take you several runs to think you understand what you're doing. And I can tell you from experience, you will never understand what you're doing until very late in this game. You're going to understand short concepts and short solutions for certain problems, but there is just a constant barrage of deeper and deeper meaning puzzles in there. It is incredible. I think it's my favorite game I played this year right now. Maybe my favorite game I played in a few years right now. So it's
that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's high up there. And I know it won't be for everyone. I've had a lot of friends I've suggested this to who think it's incredible. We talk about it every few days. And then I have friends who could not break through those first 2 hours of like, you're going to fail at this game. It's a game you fail as you play because it's a roguelike. And so a lot of people are incapable of like accepting that you can't just perfect this right away. So
sure,
it's a great time if you have a chance. Go play Blueprints. It's also on Steam Deck for like less than $30. Well worth your time. Other games I played this week, I played Spilled, which is a new little indie game. Very short. It's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it's a beautiful pixel art. And what it is kind of similar to Dredge, that boat game where you go around like these these landscapes and pick fish. Well, this one, instead of that, is you are like cleaning up the oceans of oil spills and garbage. So you go from area to area, you comb through these oil bits, you feed that oil to get upgrades, and like the feedback that you get is essentially you start with murky water and like mountainsides that are covered in soot and so on. And as you clean it up, you're every area you're pretty much rewarded with like seeing the fish and seeing the like fauna start appearing and stuff. It's a very peaceful hour and a half game, very cheap on Steam if you want to. I had a blast playing it. It's a game you can finish in a sitting, and it's just calm, no stress. No one's gonna point a gun at you in this video game. It's very well worth your time. And then the final game I played is actually a game by the people who made Paradise Killer. That was a game that I heavily talked about a few years ago. Essentially what it was is that you are in this like copy of Paradise. So essentially there have been multiple Paradises. This is like Paradise number, I think, 42. And you are there because Paradise gets destroyed and made into another Paradise when a crime happens. And so in Paradise 42, there's a murder that happens, and you are brought in to question everyone on the island and decipher what happened on that island. The beauty of that game was that it had an incredible soundtrack, and it had like very colorful JoJo's Bizarre Adventure style characters.
Nice.
And what was neat about it is like it had a very interesting story, but you could finish it any time. So if you wanted to just go to the end and pass judgment on a character, it would fix the ending to make whatever you decided correct. But there is a true ending if you decipher all the information. There is a true story. But like, let's say 8 hours into the 16-hour journey, you're like, oh, I know this guy killed him. Let's just do it. Even if you were wrong, it would gear the idea towards your concept because at that point it makes sense, which I thought was very fascinating. Anyways, They made a brand new game called I don't want to butcher this. Promise Mascot Agency. So very similar to Paradise Island. This one is a big island that you can explore, but you explore it not on foot. You explore it in a little truck. So it's much more of an open world game, kind of like a GTA where you drive around, but you can't pop out of the car and walk around. It is most of it is driving through this area, and you go around, you talk to different characters, but the big concept is that you are an ex-Yakuza who is sent to this town to reinvigorate a mascot agency company so that you can send money to your Yakuza family, like the clan that you were a part of, because they're in need of money, and you are essentially excommunicated to this town because of bad deeds that you did. It's a fascinating game. It is really just about finding weird looking mascots and delivering them to shops, and they do weird events. Then you have like weird RPG mechanic fights where like it'll introduce you your mascot that you brought in at the shop. It'll try to go and do its presentation, but then a bunch of bees will show up, and you'll have to fight the bees to have a proper mascot presentation. The gameplay is, unlike Paradise Killer, I find myself less interested in doing the day-to-day stuff in this game, but it has a great soundtrack. It's very colorful. It's very different. And if it does seem like something you'd be interested in, I've been enjoying myself. I've put in about 8 hours right now, and Promise,
nice.
Yes, and Promise Mascot Agency is a lot of fun. But it's vastly different from their previous game. As of yet, no murder plot for me to figure out. But it is very fun to like slowly piece together, slowly comb through this area, and start. It also has like a Metroidvania aspect to it, where you start unlocking features that make you realize that there are openings that you didn't have before, and so on and so forth. So it's very fun. But that's the only 3 games I got to play this weekend. To be honest, I'm just jonesing for more blueprints at all times. Even now, I'm like, ooh, I think I could fit in 3 runs today, and I'm definitely going to play more of that. What about you, Chugs? You had a hell of a week playing video games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was able to play so many games. And there is one game where I feel the exact same way as you do, as far as wanting to play a game like right now. Mm-hmm. I'm just so into it. And it's a game I've been playing for a while. But before I get into that, obviously, before I get into my 5-game cycle on Twitch and my own personal game cycle that I'm trying to beat off stream, always have to mention on mobile, every morning playing Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. We were talking about this a little bit before we went live today, where there are a couple of decks where I'm like 1 or 2 cards away from completing them. And Uno, I think we got to become friends and maybe trade.
I think we have to.
Yeah, I've never done it yet. But yeah, still collecting as much as possible, still battling as much as possible. I've gone through and cleared every possible solo battle you can do against the computer. There are still some like optional missions, like for example, beating an expert deck with only cards up to like 3 diamond and not using 4 diamond or 1-star cards, or like using an element that would be weak against that deck, stuff like that. So there's a couple of those that I still have to do, but I'm having fun with that. I started doing the versus mode a lot more too, where I'm playing other people in the card game, and I was playing ranked as well. And I was so excited, Uno. In the beginner phase, I was crushing it. I had like 10 wins in a row. I'm like, man, maybe I'm pretty good at this. And then when it got to real ranked matches, just demolished, dude. Just absolutely destroyed.
I might be wrong, but it takes 10 to rank you in the system, right? They evaluate you first, the first 10. So because you won, you probably got bumped right to a very difficult one.
Right. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, oh yeah, let's go. But again, my go-to deck is the Nido King, Nido Queen deck. I just love that darkness deck so much. But again, sometimes that's not very effective. So I really have to get into a phase where I go and I think build my own deck from scratch, because there's so many options and choices you could do that I think that'd be really, really fun. Just so far, I've been using all the theme deck lists as well for the battles. But yeah, once again, having an absolute blast with that. But as far as on Twitch, I know the last time we talked, I mentioned that I finished Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, and next up was going to jump into Final Fantasy VI. And I've not gotten there yet because we've not gotten to game number 2 of the 5-game cycle. But on Twitch, I played game number 3, 4, 5, and 1 again. So I played a bunch of games on Twitch this week, starting with Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. I'm continuing the 3rd and final DLC, which is the Crown of the Ivory King DLC. Once again, it's in this amazing snow area. It's this massive DLC. And what I really appreciate and like about this DLC is there's so many things that you have to go and do and collect before you go into a said boss fight. For example, at the very beginning of this DLC, when you walk out, if you go to the left, there is this fog wall and boss door where an NPC warns you like, hey, listen, you do not want to do this. You are not ready for this fight. It's not going to go well for you. So then you go to the right and explore, and you end up collecting something. I believe it's the Eye of the Priestess. I could be completely wrong, but it's something like that. And that item, what that does, it allows you to actually see the boss. So if you want, you can go to the left and you can fight this boss, but it's completely invisible, dude.
Damn.
Completely invisible. So forget, I mean, I know people have done it. I'm sure people have done it, but very, very challenging.
Are there any markers when it is invisible? Like, do you see part of its motion or anything like that? Like, or is it a completely blind flight?
I think you can see sometimes, depending on where the enemy is, you can see paw prints, or sometimes you can see its breath. But again, it's the boss moves around so fast, so quickly, and hits so hard that, again, I'm sure on YouTube it exists where someone has beaten this boss while it being invisible, but I am not good enough to be able to do it. So I was able to first try it when we did see the boss, which was nice. Which was very cool. But after that, then you go into a scenario where you go and talk to another NPC who explains that the Ivory King is further down into this pit that you have to go. But before then, you have to go around and travel around this entire huge DLC. And if you want, which again, not required, but highly, highly suggested, is you go around and you find these other knights that have been frozen. And when you find these knights, they fight alongside you, because the boss fight against the Ivory King is him and then a bunch of his other soldiers. So you can make it 1v8, or you can make it 8v8. You can make it more fair. So that's what I'm doing now, is running around and collecting these optional knights that you can get to help you in this boss fight. But again, absolutely enjoying it. I think Dark Souls 2, some of its best content is in its DLC, and just having an absolute blast with it. It's different from the other Souls games, but in a cool way that I really enjoy. I know Dark Souls 2 lots of times is given a hard time as being the worst Souls game. And let me tell you, if that's the case, it's still an excellent Souls game. It's still a Dark Souls game.
Yes,
like it's very, very good, and I'm having a blast with it. And it's been cool lately is seeing people kind of gain this appreciation for Dark Souls 2, because there were a lot of mechanics that were used in games like Elden Ring or other Souls games that kind of started in Dark Souls 2. For example, power stancing was a thing that you were not able to do in Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 3, but in Dark Souls 2 you could, and they brought that back in Elden Ring, which I really appreciate as well. So yeah, having a blast with that. Also, I continued with a little bit more of Ender Magnolia, the sequel to Ender Lilies, an awesome Metroidvania. Once again, continuing to go through and fight these bosses. I unlocked a grappling hook, which is really, really cool. Just a super fun Metroidvania where I'm opening up more and more of the map. I keep telling myself that I'm not going to 100% the game, but the Chugs Army gives me a hard time, and rightfully so, because I keep saying I'm not going to 100% it. But then when I get a new ability, I go back to like every area that I had already been to see if I could get every item that I could. So I'm having so much fun with that Metroidvania. I'm also having a ton of fun with my first playthrough of Silent Hill 3. And the last time we played Silent Hill 3, it was a blast, because I finally for sure got confirmed that this is indeed a sequel to Silent Hill 1. This 100% is fully attached to the original game, which is very, very cool. And I don't know. I mean, the game's been out for a while, so I feel like I can say some spoilers here.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, just in case. Spoilers for Silent Hill 3. But you are playing as Heather Mason, who is Harry Mason's daughter, and Harry Mason being the lead protagonist in the original Silent Hill 1. And you discover this in a few hours into the game, where you realize that this girl named Claudia, who is the antagonist of the game, is trying to follow through with what Dahlia Gillespie did in the original Silent Hill 1, and that is birthing this god, or birthing a demon, if you will. And long story short, they need Heather to feel this hatred within her heart. So in addition to going through and fighting all these monsters, they kill Harry Mason. Like, Heather finds her father dead in his home, which makes her so angry. And then Heather decides, you know what, screw it, I'm going to Silent Hill. So I finally made it to Silent Hill. The game has been so creepy and so disturbing in so many different ways. I think the monster design in Silent Hill 3 is incredible. Just there are so many moments where you'll go into a room and you think there's more to it, but really there's like one health drink and then something that scares you. Like there are so many moments in that game where or set pieces that are meant to just frighten you with no real use other than terrifying you. And it does an unbelievable job. So again, I'm having an absolute blast with Silent Hill 3. Super fun. I love that it correlates with the original Silent Hill. Super, super fun game. I see why people like that game so much. And then speaking of games that people like so much, me included, I did finish the base game of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt on stream, which was so awesome. And now I'm jumping into the final DLC, which is the Blood and Wine DLC. Just two small things because, again, I'm not going to dive into it too deep, Uno, because I want you to experience The Witcher 3 properly for the first time. But when I did finish the base game, the cool thing is obviously through this playthrough, I have made some different decisions. It wasn't even intentional, but just I made some different decisions along the way, and I got a different ending, which is so cool because there are multiple endings within this game. Your decisions absolutely matter, and it was really awesome to see this different ending of The Witcher 3. I love that game so much. And then also I'm being reminded of how absolutely gorgeous the Blood and Wine DLC is. Uno, when you get to it, I can't wait to hear your reaction because it's so different from the feel and the vibe of the base game of The Witcher 3 and even Hearts of Stone. This is a completely different feel, a completely different vibe, which is so warranted, I think, at this point in the game. Toussaint is one of the most beautiful areas in any video game ever, and just seeing it again, it reminds me of the first time that I saw it and how blown away I was, especially playing its next-gen update. So really excited to go through and play Blood and Wine, but I was very busy with Twitch streaming this week, which has been awesome. But I also got a fair amount of gaming in off stream as well. One of those games being South of Midnight.
Yes.
Which, again, I continue to sing its praises. But as that game continues to unfold, I'm falling more and more in love with it. I'm continuing to unlock these really cool new features. And again, minor gameplay spoilers for South of Midnight. But for example, I just recently unlocked you have this little doll that you can control so that you can access different areas that you couldn't normally access to get different items and things like that. Unlocking new abilities both in combat and outside of combat. And I will say, too, the combat is absolutely getting more challenging. It's not, like, incredibly difficult or anything like that, but the fights are definitely not things where you can just button mash through everything, which I really appreciate. You have to think and use these abilities properly at the right time and stuff like that, especially when it comes to the boss fights, which I just finished a really cool, really awesome multiple phase boss fight that was just an absolute blast. So yeah, that game, both combat-wise and outside of combat, has been great. Again, the art style is beautiful. The music that plays at certain moments of the game is so gorgeous and so cool. And again, as this story is continuing to unfold, the biggest thing that has me completely captivated by this game is indeed its story and voice acting and things like that. So once again, I will continue to say it every week. Play South of Midnight, well worth your time. And also, I've been talking about this game. This is the last one. I've been talking about this game for a while, but I've been playing Nine Souls while I'm traveling on the road. And Uno, something about this game this week, don't get me wrong. I've said how great the game is, and it's amazing Metroidvania, super fun, challenging combat. But like something clicked in my brain today where it's like, that's all I want to play. Like I'm going to start playing it, like not just on the road. I'm going to start playing it at home. I'm going to play it later today. So Nine Souls, again, this really awesome, challenging Metroidvania. But the two biggest things for me is, number one, the combat has really finally clicked for me. These bosses are incredibly difficult, but I fought this boss named Jaquan, I believe is the way you pronounce his name. Multiple phase fight. Super challenging. I got absolutely demolished the first few times. But then when it starts to click and you start getting those perfect parries and those dodges and you know the attack patterns and you're ready for them, it is one of the most rewarding Metroidvania combat systems I have ever played. It is absolutely so much fun, so much fun. And on top of that, too, my favorite boss in the game so far is this boss named Lady Ethereal, which is a 3-phase fight where same thing, got absolutely destroyed. But then the final fight, when everything clicked, my hands are sweaty, my heart was pounding. And when I finally did it, it felt like a Dark Souls boss, like when you finally beat it. So again, the combat is so awesome. I finally got the infamous, the best ability in any Metroidvania, finally got the double jump. So I'm over the moon about that. So excited about that, of course, just like in Hollow Knight, how it takes a while to get it. Yeah, and also too, again, the story is really shaping up to be something more special than I even anticipated.
So I remember the first hour of that game is heavy, like
it
very
is
sad.
Yes, very, very sad. And as the game continues, again, you're continuing to develop this relationship with a little boy or a human, or they call them ape men in Nine Souls. And you can go and collect these items and bring them back to this character. And this character is so innocent and so sweet and filled with so much curiosity, asks so many adorable questions, and then he'll work and do all these things. Like if you bring him a musical instrument, he'll learn how to play it. If you bring him clay, he'll learn how to make pottery. Like he is just such an amazing character, and it terrifies me. Based on how this game has been, I have no idea where it's going, but I have a feeling it's going to be really freaking sad, and I'm not ready for it. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. But again, Nine Souls, incredible story, incredible combat. What an awesome Metroidvania. I can't wait to play it when we're done today. It's so good. So I got to play a lot today, and there's a lot of good video games that we're playing right now, man. So many good ones.
Dude, I can't. And the next month is looking insane. We're only like 4 weeks away from Doom.
I know.
We're only a month and a half away from the Switch 2 releases, and Donkey Kong the month after that. So
Elden Ring Night Rain, dude.
Elden Ring Night Rain. Oh, that's in May. That's
in
next month. Oh my god.
Next month, dude. Unbelievable.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to slot some time for that too. There's a lot coming up, and like we don't even really know what's coming out this summer yet. To be honest, we don't know when GTA is this year, and that's this year. Xbox is about to have their Direct in June. The Switch has a whole library of stuff they haven't announced a date for, including Prime 4. If I were to assume anything, that's probably going to be fall onwards. But like, there's a lot of really big games, and we're still playing games like from a few years ago still.
Absolutely.
So it's impossible to follow up, but incredible time to be a video game player. If you're playing a game that has come out in the last few weeks and want to let us know, go to youtube.com/AEWgames. That is our YouTube channel. Our videos are posted there if you want to see our beautiful faces, as well as listen to it on the podcast. Leave a comment down below, because I'm always actively looking for new games. So if you played a new little indie game, or even a big releases, a lot of time we miss out the big releases because there is so much going on. And every day there's a new game being dropped. If you're playing something and we're unaware and not talking about it, do let us know down below, because I do like to be updated about what is hot and current right now. We're going to be talking about the news of the week right after this. And we're back. It's time to discuss the news of the week. We're mid-April, late April actually, if you really want to get serious and specific about it. This week, a bunch of little news pieces, including the big one is that we have the Nintendo Switch that is coming up. Some Nintendo Switch news. We were talking about how the pre-orders were frozen until they knew about the tariffs. Well, they have disclosed now. Pre-orders in North America will be April 24th. So when this drops, I believe it'll be the 2 days from now, the Wednesday of that week. I think you do need to have a Nintendo account, and you need to go in there and say that you are interested in pre-order for you to get that notification. So that's a heads up to everyone, including myself, because I have not done that. I'm going to go back and do it right after this Twitch stream. The other big thing is that we know Mario Kart World is coming out, and Nintendo knows all about it because they actually had a dedicated Nintendo Direct specifically for Mario Kart World, which is wild because we've already kind of had a huge piece about it on the previous Nintendo Direct that was like only a week or two ago. This one was a 16-minute video all about Mario Kart World. It included information about new tracks. So there's a bunch of brand new tracks, as well as tracks that have been redone for this open world concept. Moo Moo Farms is on there, Wario's
nice.
Shipyard, a bunch of other stuff. It also mentioned a lot of the different modes, including you can play online with other people. There's a versus mode. There's a trial mode where you can play other people's Ghost, a database. So if anyone of your friends sets a time, you can go against that time and that pattern and face that. There's a bunch of new battle modes, including the balloon mode is back. The old battle mode, that's the one I always think of in Mario Kart. There is a coin mode in multiplayer where it's about ramping up as many coins as you can. If you get shot, obviously those coins go down, but it's, I believe, first to 10. Grand Prix is around, still back as well. There is a new mode where it is a constant race, but every time you get to the checkpoint, it has a entry barrier of so let's say you start at 24, the next barrier will be 16. So you have to be in the top 16 to advance, and it goes all the way to 1. So not only do you have to rank first, you have to constantly be in the upper echelon to complete those things, and that's very, very neat. You can also do
love that mode.
I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a lot on top of regular races, on top of Grand Prix. There's also custom tracks, so you can take a preset of Grand Prix tours that goes from one location pops you to the other race, that pops you to the other race, or you can do a custom track where you do the race and then by the end of the race have to go and ride to the other track because it is all in a large overworld, and that will start the next race, which starts the next race. So you can do all kinds of cool custom stuff. And then they showed us, on top of that, a lot of the free roam aspects of it. So including you could go from race to race that way, you could go in between races, and there are hidden things in between the races. There's P-switches that unlock exclusive free roam missions. They did not tell you what that unlocks for you, but it definitely does unlock a thing. There are other stuff, like there's coin missions that are based out there. There are secrets that are based out there. And then they also explained how, because in all of these clips, we keep seeing our titular characters from Nintendo. You see Mario, you see Luigi, you see Yoshi, you see Donkey Kong. But in the clips, they have different outfits. And so you just assume, like, oh, there must be just a plethora of outfits that you can jump into. But that is not the case. It's not just that. You actually have to go into the open world, and there are restaurants across the entirety of their map. And you have to go to the drive-through lane to eat a part of that food. And when you eat that food, you acquire that costume for that character. So if you're Luigi and you go in the drive-thru, you eat an Italian thing, you might suddenly, have a little gondola outfit with a hat, and now that is unlocked for Luigi full-time permanently. So there will be a lot of unlockable aspects on top of all the races, including the vehicles, including characters themselves, and costumes for the characters. And I'm sure for courses as well, because they did disclose that the Grand Prix, if you ace all of them, that will unlock Rainbow Road and probably a final Grand Prix that leads to that as well. So a lot of cool unlocks, a lot of cool stuff. It is still coming out June 5th. They did not up the price of anything Switch related as far as console and video game. They did say due to the tariffs, some of the extra content, like the peripherals, like the wheel for the video game, is slightly more expensive. I think the controllers are now slightly more expensive. And so that's the only ding that happened as of yet. That could also change. Who knows? But at this very moment, if you want to pre-order it, it is $450 US, $500 built in with the video game, which is a very, very good package. And the final thing they showed is they showed a lot of characters. We already knew about Cow, which is the cow from Moo Moo Farms. But it would seem, and they also tried to hide some of these characters in this video too, but it would seem there are most of the Mario villains are in there. There's Goombas, there's Koopas, there's the Spikes, there's Kamek is there, there's a bird enemy I've never seen before, there's a beaver enemy I've never seen before, Shy Guy's there. There's a lot of new racers, and yes, of course, all of them also have their own outfits. So this seems like if you're a Mario Kart guy, this seems like there's going to be an immense amount of content to explore.
Which I love too. I love the option to have so many different characters, like literally give me every character ever. I love it. And then also with multiple different outfits, like you said, with the tracks. I do love that the iconic Rainbow Road needs to be unlocked.
Me too.
I think that's really cool. Really, really cool. And I'm so curious to see what Rainbow Road is going to look like in this Mario Kart game. So
they showed some of the previous tracks that have been remapped, and they look incredible. The beauty of it too is like within even the races, you had your set courses, but now that there are different maneuvering abilities, because now you can like jump off a ramp and drive on a wall for a short period of time, kind of like Titanfall running, right? Or you can grind on rails. And that will allow you to get to areas that you wouldn't typically have, which would make shortcuts and stuff. So even like what seems like a very basic copy of a previous course has different ways of traversing it now, which seems very interesting. It's going to make for a lot of, I think, competitive aspects for this game, which obviously Mario Kart was always a competitive game. But to me, the biggest thing is just the drip feed of content that you can have slowly. All these costumes, all these characters, all these races, all the Grand Prix. It does genuinely feel like an experience that you could get a lot out of. And that's always what I like about these type of games, is that if everything was unlocked right off the bat, I would lose interest very quickly. I need to be capable of getting something new and exciting every little bit. That's what keeps me coming back to the game. And it looks like Mario Kart World will have plenty of that. So if you want to go check it out, it is on YouTube. The Nintendo Direct is there right now. And just to secure the conversation here, I'm getting it. I'm just saying, I'm getting it right now. My launch title, I'm gonna try to get the Switch 2 launch that has it built in. I'm very excited to play it.
Yeah, I'm hoping so bad. I already filled out the information you need to fill out on the Nintendo Switch online store. So I'm really, really hoping I get that email. And yes, I've requested the Switch 2 plus Mario Kart World. So fingers crossed. But yes, I'm absolutely getting it as well, for sure.
More news from this week. This one's actually about, and this is more in relation, because you just played Silent Hill 2 Remake by Bloober Team. They're the team that ended up making the remake. Well, they now have a brand new game coming out, their own IP. A gameplay trailer just dropped for Kronos: The New Dawn, and we both ended up watching this trailer. If you get the chance, there is no date announced. It is for 2025. Go check this out, because this really looks like Dead Space and like Resident Evil and Silent Hill all kind of mixed into one. It looks incredible. The set pieces that they have in there and the enemy design looks grotesque. I'm very, very excited for it. And the people that are directing it are saying that they're looking for a deeply psychological story. And that, on top of that, it makes me very, very interested, because they just came from Silent Hill. That is, on top of it being an incredible atmosphere and horror game, it is really about the story. And so that is what I'm hoping we will get more of from Kronos: The New Dawn. Do check this out. I think this looks stunning.
Definitely check it out. And this has me so excited for so many different reasons. Again, Bloober Team did an unbelievable job on the Silent Hill 2 remake. So good. They even took, again, obviously Team Silent were the ones in charge of making this original story, which has been so infamous in video game circles for so long. But Bloober Team like added some little extra details to me that made the story even more effective. So the fact that they've come out and said with Kronos that we've got a deep psychological story to tell has me even more excited, because again, the gameplay looks amazing. Graphically, it looks awesome. Definitely reminded me a lot of Dead Space, but the fact that the story is going to be this psychological horror has me even more pumped. So yeah, this trailer definitely did its job, and I am hyped to check this out. So hyped.
Yeah, just another game that we're gonna have to play this year. This one is on. It's now added to my list of definites that I will not miss. It looks incredible, and we're hopefully going to see it by the end of 2025. More new game news too. Respawn, you might know them. They made that big Star Wars Outlaws game. I believe that's the one they worked on. Well, they have now announced that they will be working on a new Star Wars game. This one called Zero Company. And this one will not be a third-person action game. Instead, it will be a tactics-based game, because the team working on it is actually former people from Civilization and XCOM who are working on this. So you people who are big in the tactics world are now building a Star Wars focused one. I'm not as big of a Star Wars guy as most people, but I've really grown fond of tactic games in the last few years. Tactical Wizards was one I played recently, Into the Breach. XCOM also, it was so late too, but XCOM 2 I played a couple years ago. Incredible game. So nice. I'm excited for this one. I think it's, especially if it's taking, I think, the Bad Batch people, so the people from the TV show, and making that into a video game. I'm very excited to see its development, but no announced date quite yet. I think we're still quite early in development of Zero Company.
So I have very little experience with this genre of game, but it seems really interesting and exciting that we're going to get a Star Wars version of it. Because again, I've heard incredible things about XCOM, and I've never played it. So maybe this will be my first dipping my toe in to this genre, because this does sound cool. It sounds like they got an incredible team behind it.
So here's the weirdest part, and this is how I got introduced to the genre, because I'm not a military shooter guy. The appeal of guns and all that isn't exactly why I play video games. So a lot of times people would suggest it, they're like, you should play XCOM. And anytime I'd look up clips, it just looked like people shooting each other. And I was never that into it. But you know what actually got me into tactics games is the Mario vs. Rabbids game. Which is a tactics-based game with Mario and Rabbids involved in it. And it's surprisingly challenging and surprisingly has a lot of depth to it. And it kind of flew under the radar because it is a Nintendo game made by the people of Ubisoft. But, like, it is very good. And if you want to try and find not like baby's first tactics game, but if you want, like, a good introductory into it and also feel colorful on top of, like, you know, having Mario as its main antagonist makes it so much easier, so much more palatable. And, you know, you go from one thing to the other and you kind of have an understanding of that world. That game is very good and kind of made me realize, like, oh, I should be playing more tactics games. They're just, like, very cool board games. And that's what actually turned me into playing XCOM and playing all these other ones. So if you get a chance, play that Mario vs. Rabbids games. It's on Switch. And then, final piece of news I want to discuss, and I think we talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah.
And we may have even teased it before. But the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion remaster is officially real.
There it is.
Now, we know that we had heard rumors that it was getting worked on, and then we had heard from people like, yes, we have seen this thing. Now, they have somebody straight up leaked details and screenshots of it, which does look like they remastered it on a visual basis. There is not much information about the actual content that might have switched in it. But it is very exciting news because I think, Chugs, you were right last week. I think it is lending itself to be a part of that Xbox Direct that is coming out in June for sure.
I think so too. I think, honestly, in looking at this and again, hearing the rumors and everything like that, I wouldn't be surprised. I know we had talked about this before, Uno, but I do have a theory. I feel like with this Xbox showcase that we have in June, I feel like we will get a little bit more information on Elder Scrolls 6. I think that'd be really exciting. But on top of that, I bet that they shadow drop this Oblivion remaster. And I bet they shadow drop it in June. That would be so wild because, again, I know we discussed this too, but it was so smart with the Ninja Gaiden game when they showed footage of the new Ninja Gaiden that we have coming out. Looked awesome, but no real like actual release date. And then they said, oh, by the way, Ninja Gaiden Black 2 is just going to be shadow dropped today. So all this hype and excitement around that game and then everyone watching the trailer again, I think it'd be so cool if Xbox did the same thing with the Elder Scrolls, where we got a little bit more info on Elder Scrolls 6, and then they also went, oh, by the way, a game that you love so much, Oblivion, it's remastered, and it's out today. That'd be so sweet. I feel like we're getting it soon.
I think so, too. And honestly, I would not be surprised, and I'm sorry, Xbox, if this is what you're doing, and we just, like...
I know, yeah.
We just somehow blew the whole magic of it. But...
We're guessing.
We're all guessing. We have no information about this. This is
for real,
This is purely us being fans. But...
yes.
I don't see a better way of doing this than just saying like, because we know they're working on the next Elder Scrolls. They said after Starfield, thank you. I had Skyfall in my head, but that's a James Bond movie. Starfield, we knew that after Starfield, the next game they would be working on is the next Elder Scrolls. They even teased it in previous, conferences and talks that they had done.
Oh, yeah.
So I would not be surprised if we get a little snippet of them in the next game. I'm not saying we're going to see gameplay. In fact, I think we'll see no gameplay. We'll just see like a title screen and maybe a shot of fauna and stuff, just so you have a graphical idea of what it might look like. I think we will get that, and I think we'll have Bethesda be like, "Hey, we're working on this," but also we're shadow dropping the remaster because you already know it exists. It's already been teased. It's already been leaked. And we don't need to re-advertise it to you because it's one of the greatest games of all time. Here it is. It's on Xbox today. I would be very surprised if it's not this case. The only other case I could see, they could also just be like, it's out in 2 weeks, which I think is that's fine too. That works too. So I think you're right. I think that's a definite. I don't think they're going to talk about it before that direct. I think it would make no sense. It would make no sense. Keep it as a surprise. Keep it in there.
Right. And it's so cool because for hardcore video game fans who like pay attention to the news constantly, we already know the rumblings of like this game being real and us being so excited. But also for people who maybe don't follow the news as much and they're just watching this Xbox showcase, they're going to lose their minds.
Yes.
They're going to be like, "Oh my God, we're getting an Oblivion remaster. This is incredible." So it's a win-win, I think, across the board. Again, no idea if that's what they're doing, but my gut is telling me, Uno, I completely agree with you. I think that's what's going to happen, and it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome.
Bethesda is dropping Doom in the next month. Like that's There's only a few other big ones they could be doing. I don't think they're going to make a new Prey. I could see a new Wolfenstein down the pipe at some point. But I think even that being, let's say they did talk about Wolfenstein, that seems like a completely different team that'd be working on that. It's almost guaranteed Elder Scrolls is being worked on because the big ones they got to work on is that and the next Fallout. Fallout is almost a definite as well because of the TV series. And so,
it has to be.
Very excited for that June Direct. I feel like we're going to get so much cool information from Xbox.
I do too.
Do mark June 8th on your calendar.
It's going to be a big one.
It's going to be a big one. We're watching. This is not even mentioning the fact that we think Silksong might have a presentation. We'll see. I don't know.
Every
showcase, I think it is. So I will be watching with my eyes completely open. And then a final thing on Elder Scrolls Online before we go on to our favorite segment of the show. Elder Scrolls Online, which has been around for over a decade now, is actually sunsetting some of their servers, but. And I think this is extremely cool. They're doing a very, very interesting thing where they're going to sunset some of their servers, but they're going to chop it into pieces and put them in plaques and sell them to fans, which so essentially it's a 10-year anniversary plaque. It's a gold plaque with a compartment inside of it where you can get a server used for Elder Scroll and get a piece of that built in there. I think it's a very fascinating thing if you're a huge fan. I personally played 1 hour of Elder Scrolls Online and did not like it, but I'm also not an online player at all. But I think if you are a fan, and there are a lot of people who play Elder Scrolls Online, this is a very cool collector's item that could be on your wall. If I was a fan, if they did this for Donkey Kong on the Super NES, and they're like, hey, these are real chips that we use for the audio, I'd buy one. I'd plaque it on a wall too.
Absolutely. Yeah, this idea, because again, I've never played Elder Scrolls Online either, but I know it has a big player base and people really love the game. People just love Elder Scrolls, and rightfully so. Elder Scrolls is amazing. But yeah, them doing this is so beyond cool. I love like collector's items like this, and what a great way to go about this. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, I think it's a very unique opportunity to own part of history, but also just if you're a huge Elder Scroll fan, there won't be a lot of these. This, I think, is a collector item that will sell very well in the future because I don't think Elder Scrolls will die a death anytime soon. I think that is only going to get more and more in porn over the years. And so if you are interested in that, that is available online right now. By the time we talk about this, there's only 2,000 plaques. They might already be gone because they have a certificate of authenticity signed by the studio director of ZeniMax Online Studios, Matt Ferrer, on top of having those pieces and all that. There will only be 2,000 out there. And if rarity in action figures or rarity in wrestling content is any indication, these things will disappear very quickly. And if you're going to want one in 5 years, get ready to pay thousands of dollars for it. So if that is something that's of interest to you, go seek it out right now because the demand is high and the amount that they are releasing is fairly low. And that is it for the news for the week. There's actually, you know what? I thought it was a short week of news, but there was a fair amount of stuff.
There was.
But that's not all. Of course, we have our favorite segment of the show, the community mailbag. We will be answering your questions right after this. And we are back. It is time for our favorite segment of the show. That is the community mailbag, brought to you by our friends at UpperDeck.com. Collect your favorite wrestlers in 2024's Upper Deck AEW. We've got an AEW Allure Pack right here. Start your trading card collection today. Unwrapped autographs, memorabilia, or premium tech inserts. What do we got today, Chugs?
Here we go, baby. Starting off strong.
Ooh, we got a big Billy Gunn with a crop top.
Oh, yeah.
Commander, which I believe this is Commander's first card.
I think so.
Whoa. I know this is Nick Jackson, but for a second.
No, it's Matt.
Is that Matt?
Yeah.
It is Matt. Oh, my God.
It is Matt.
I thought it was Chuck Taylor for half a second. I was like, that's the weirdest
Right.
Matt picture ever. We've got Ricky and Billy when they or Bill when they were champions. Nick Wayne. Ooh, now a crowd reaction shot of Chris Jericho.
Ooh, nice.
Oh,
Okada.
Kazuchika Okada.
Ooh.
Darby Allin.
Nice. That's a good pack. That's a real good pack right there. Look at those cards. They're beautiful. They're coolest looking cards.
Allure is an incredible pack. I'm hoping the 2025 pack, which has just come out. If you want that, that's also available on the website. Go to upperdeck.com to learn more. You can get not only AW packs, but you can get packs of all kinds of sports. Thank you to upperdeck.com. But hopefully we will be opening those very soon. Very excited to see what those future cards look like. Today, we've got 3 questions from our beautiful listeners. Chugs, lead the charge, if you will.
Yes, starting off with Derek. Derek, thank you very much for the question. And Derek says, hey guys, love the show. Thank you.
Thank you.
Eurogamer wrote an article this week about Eternal Darkness's Sanity system patent expiring. And I was wondering what game you would love to see the system implemented in. If you've never played Eternal Darkness, the Sanity system was way ahead of its time and would make it so your character would hallucinate in-game. Walls bleeding, weird noises, things that would appear and disappear. And it would also do crazy stuff like pretend your TV would shut off. Derek, thank you very much for the question. First of all, the Sanity system is one of the coolest things to ever happen in gaming.
Oh, yeah.
I seriously think it is so cool. I remember the first time that I fought Psycho Manus in the original Metal Gear Solid, that I thought it was so incredible that he could read your saves, and then the only way to beat him, you had to switch your port from controller port 1 to controller port 2 to be able to not have him control your mind or predict what you were going to do. Like, such an amazing concept. The Sanity system is just so unbelievable, like you had said. Like, the blue screen would pop up, or the game would all of a sudden go into your save files and it would act like it's deleting all your saves. Just so cool. I mean, instantly, and Uno, I know you probably feel the same way, but Silent Hill is one that I immediately thought of that I think would be so cool, especially with Silent Hill F coming out. Because really, this has not been done in quite some time. So that would be really awesome to see in more psychological horror games, specifically psychological horror games, to have that happen. So, like, seeing that implemented in the Silent Hill franchise, I think would be awesome. Awesome.
So the thing that fascinates me the most about this, and surprisingly enough, I actually just acquired my GameCube back from Canada because I'm about to play the Bongo games on my Twitch stream. That's another subject for later. But I did bring back Eternal Darkness from my collection. I was looking to play for it. And what baffles me of this is the fact that I didn't know that they had the patent for the Sanity system, which means the last 20 years of horror games, no one was able to implement some of those things because they could get sued. So I'm very curious, because if this becomes open-ended and nobody tries to reapply for those mechanics under like a different guise, we might see this across the spectrum of all horror games, even other games that I think we don't think about what they could do with it, because I'm not precisely sure what in the patent is covered, right? I think the concept of it affecting your console, not actually affecting it, but like faking that is, I think, what is the patent. And I think that would be incredible for a lot of video games. I think even if I think on an independent scale, Undertale, when you played it on PC, would force close the application, and every time you would open, it would force close it and rename your save file as if it was talking to you. And like just doing stuff like that, or adding files into folders, it's honestly, the game is constantly doing it on a hidden side. But like to do that and have you actively interact with that has always been something I thought was fascinating from Undertale. And now if that is just more open-ended for everyone, I feel like we're going to see it in a lot of horror games. You mentioned Silent Hill. I think Silent Hill is by far the top one for this, for sure. But like this could be implemented in boss battles, in a Ratchet and Clank. This could be in Dark Souls. This could be like, these type of mechanics don't need to be an entire game's mechanic. These could be implemented much like you talked about Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, you could have a boss fight that is very Psycho Mantis-ish, and he's capable of doing stuff. So I'm very excited to see if this patent gets dropped. You're probably going to see 3-4 years worth of games using this stuff, because it's always been a fascinating concept, and no wonder no one was working on it, because those patents were out there. It's kind of like you can't have miniature video games in load screens, because I believe Atari owns a patent on load screens as well.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I didn't know that.
So in Atari games, you could play Centipede, for example, in between going from save file to save file while it loads, but no other game is allowed to do that. That's why everyone else load screen has like an animation or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that is a patent also that's supposed to drop at some point. It just shows you how fast there are a lot of ideas in games you could think like, oh, why don't they do this? That's because one person somewhere, much like the Shadow of War patent that just recently was sold off.
The Nemesis system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just one person is like, no, this is such a great idea. No one else can do this. It just shows you, like, even creatively, people have had to work in a set parameter in a box. And now it's going to be a lot more open-ended. I'm very excited to see the future of horror games.
Right. And my goodness, the creativity now among so many game devs. I mean, this is really exciting to think about, just all the different possibilities. So, yeah, I am completely with you. I completely agree. It's an exciting time. And like you said, doesn't even have to be horror games per se, but this system being available to everyone else pretty soon is pretty good news for me.
Yeah, I'm very excited, and on top of that, it makes me want to replay Eternal Darkness, which I think I will. I think I will. Thank you, Derek. Great question. Yes. Honestly, very, very
great question.
Thanks for bringing that up for us. Tommy sent us a question. Tommy says, "Yo, Chugs and Uno, which console do you think you drop the most cash on? Not like just the console price, but games, accessory, and all that stuff. The console that left the biggest impression on me growing up was the Sega Saturn. I've probably spent over $8,000 and have over 80 games, mix of both US and Japanese. I got a few big ones like Panzer Dragoon and Burning Rangers, both complete inbox. Thank you both for taking the time to answer my question." Thank you, Tommy, for sending it. This is a tough one for me because I actually had to think about it. I have a lot of games. I have a lot of games, but a lot of them were gifted to me. And if it wasn't console, I would tell you Steam by far has the most amount I've ever spent on video games. Steam, I have 3,000 plus video games.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of it are humble bundles piles, and like I got a lot of like bundle keys. And because I reviewed games for a good decade of my life, I have a lot of free ones. But I also spend money on games almost every week on Steam because they're on sale. I'm a sucker for a sale. And so I think Steam, if you count Steam Deck, that's the most money I've ever spent on anything ever. Maybe wrestling is the only thing I've ever spent more money on than probably my Steam library. But if you're talking a console, I think PlayStation 3 might be the one I own the most games for, that I paid for the actual game for. I didn't get gifted it. I didn't get it on a digital basis. I just have a cabinet full of PS3 games, over 80 plus, maybe 100 plus games, and every console model of PS3 I've owned at least once. So I think that is the most money I've ever spent on a console single-handedly.
Nice. Yeah, Tommy, this is a great question, and I was thinking, the Xbox One, I definitely bought quite a few games. That was the first console that I bought with my own money, where I really got into video games, and I've told that story before. But I'm thinking more. I think the console I've spent the most money on, and really, even though the games aren't as expensive, but it was certainly my biggest game library currently is the Nintendo Switch. I recently, I have 148 games downloaded on my Switch, not available.
Oh wait,
all of them
whoa!
Downloaded.
They're all on your file.
Every single one. I recently had to upgrade to a 1 terabyte SD card because I was running out of space, and I'm so strange. Like, I don't ever like to have games that are in my library but not downloaded. I like to have them all downloaded. So yeah, probably the Switch with 148, and I've gotten so many different Joy-Cons and so many different cases and so many different accessories, all the Bluetooth controllers for the retro games with Nintendo Switch Online. So I'm gonna say, as far as all the other extra stuff, probably the Switch, because again, I have 148 games and so many different accessories. So I'm going to say the Switch. I'm going to say the Switch.
Great question, Tommy. Thank you so much.
Yes, great question. And last but not least, Damien, thank you. Damien says, hey, Uno and Chugs, love the podcast. Literally my favorite thing to look forward to every single Monday. Keep it up. Damien, thank you. My question to you guys, which may have been answered already, what is a game or series you didn't think you were going to be into but ended up falling in love with? Mine, for example, was Elden Ring, mostly due to it looking like another Souls game without understanding how huge the world is and so much to do. Damien, thank you very much for the question. I'm going to say 2 answers for this. I know I've said one previously before, but the 2 that always pop up into my mind is, number 1, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I was very intimidated by open world games. This is when I kind of first started really getting into gaming, and I remember I tried to play The Witcher 3 one time, and it just wasn't clicking with me. Like, it didn't grab me. It was intimidating. I was like, there's so much to do. And then I went and played Dark Souls 3, actually. And after I finished that, I came back and I'm like, I gotta try The Witcher 3 again. And for some reason, it just all clicked into my brain, and now it's one of the greatest video games ever made, one of my favorite video games of all time, a game that got me into the open world gaming genre. The Witcher 3 is absolutely incredible. It just took me a little bit of time. And the other one, same thing, a game that got me into a genre, is Hollow Knight. Any experience I had had with Metroidvanias before, I didn't really understand, or same thing, it just really wasn't clicking with me. I didn't like that I didn't have a map. I didn't like that I couldn't access every area that I wanted to. I was getting lost. And then I played Hollow Knight, and that was all happening again, but it just kept pulling me further and further into this game, where I wanted to discover more of the world and fight more of the enemies and see what other abilities I could unlock. And now, same thing. Hollow Knight, one of my favorite games of all time. Metroidvania is one of my favorite genres of all time. Earlier, I was discussing how much I'm enjoying Ender Magnolia and Nine Souls and things like that. So, yeah, the 2 that I wasn't sure if I was going to like and then absolutely fell in love with were The Witcher 3 and Hollow Knight for me.
I hate to reflect your answer at least on one of them, but Witcher 3 is exactly the same story for me. I played it once for about an hour and a half. This was after everyone had played it and loved it. And honestly, if I'm going to be brutally honest with everyone, that's a big thing for a lot of people, or at least for me. TV shows or video games that everyone is actively playing and pushing on me, for whatever reason, my brain will tell me, like, I have to wait. Like, if everyone's and this is terrible, I'm going to admit it, everyone's like, you got to play Marvel Rivals, you got to play with me, and because everyone's pushing it, my brain tells me not to do it. It's very bad. Don't get me wrong, it's a bad way of approaching it. But Witcher 3 was one of those. Everyone was enjoying it. When I actively did play it for the first hour and a half, I didn't get it. It was 5 years removed from when it initially came out, but I just didn't understand the appeal, because I didn't break through that first part. Eventually, when I did play it, it clicked. And then I realized, like, oh man, I've been spending all this time thinking Witcher was not for me, when in reality, it absolutely was. I just wasn't in the right mindset.
Yeah.
But a few series that I have done this for are Psychonauts, starting with that.
Oh,
so Psychonauts was a game from the outside that I remember it releasing on Xbox, and I wasn't an Xbox guy, and I was way more a Mario dude. So I like had this in my mind. I just assumed it was a bad Mario game, and it had to be a bad game. And when I finally got my hands on it, I was proven wrong very quickly, and so much so that I was an early backer on Psychonauts 2. I played the Rhombus of Ruin game. I became a huge fan of Double Fine after that, and played most of, if not all, their games, with I think the exception of one or two. So Psychonauts was one for sure. Another one for me was Forza Motorsports or Forza Horizon. I hate racing games. I'll be honest. If it's not Mario Kart or something colorful most of the time, I don't have an affinity for cars like a lot of men in my life have, for example. I just don't care. Whatever. If it gets me from A to Z, that's all that matters to me. But I decided to get Forza Horizon because I thought like, oh, it's stunning. I'll drive a few things. I'm bored. We'll see what happens. And that open world factor, and just like how easy it was to drop in and drop into stuff, and just how visually pleasing it was, it became one of my favorite games. It's one of the games I've actually put a lot more time into than you would never anticipate. I think I've put in over 80 hours into that game. And that's that's just going in and out and popping for 2 hours and driving aimlessly or taking, doing a bit of races. It's just a game that mechanically feels good, visually feels good. And it turned me around on like slowly trying out other racing games. I have not found any that have really gripped me like that series. But I have opened up to racing games in general. And then my final one is, and I'm going to say this, I didn't like Dark Souls at all. I kind of thought Dark Souls sucked because when I originally played it, I didn't understand that the difficulty and the challenge of it was the game. And so when I initially played it, I was like, this game is, if I'm getting killed by these side characters, it must be a bad game. Not understanding the challenge of it was the game. I had to get my ass kicked because it was only teaching me I was going to get my ass kicked later. So what actually got me into the series is Bloodborne came out, and on day one, I purchased it with no understanding of what it was. And it took me 10 hours to just get through that first batch where you hit the first werewolf boss. And I did not like it. For the first 10 hours, I did not like it because I thought, I don't get it. What am I not understanding here? And much like it worked for you for Nine Souls, and much like it works for a lot of us, at one point, something clicked, and I understood the rhythm of how it was played. And instantly, I was like, oh, I was very wrong about this game. Because once I beat that first boss, the swell of emotion that was in me, I was like, oh, this is what the game was doing. It's hard because, man, I've never felt a reward like this before playing these games.
Nothing like it.
Nothing like it. And so I ended up destroying all of Bloodborne. I went back, I played Dark Souls. I did not beat Dark Souls 2. That was too hard for me. But I did play Dark Souls 3. I played Elden Ring. I tried to beat Sekiro, but that is maybe the hardest of their games.
To me, it's the hardest of their games, in my opinion.
That's another one that I feel like if I went back to it, it would take me 15 hours to just get the concept. Because I played 15 hours and I think I got 2 bosses in.
Just very quickly, Uno, and I don't mean to interrupt you, though, but I will say this. I do think Sekiro is the hardest From Software Souls game, but I think maybe it's the most rewarding and satisfying when you play a boss really well and you kick his butt. Oh, my God. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt what you're saying.
You're right.
But, like, man, when I fought the first Genichiro fight and I beat him and I was getting all these perfect parries, you feel so freaking cool.
Oh, yeah.
It is like the best boss fights ever. But anyway, go ahead, continue. But,
and for Sekiro, much like my early phases of Bloodborne, is my emotions would get to me. And after losing 3-4 times to a thing, I was like, this game is just not me. Mechanically, it's not good. I'm not capable of doing it. Which is wrong. I just was not good at the parry system. But that's one of those games I will probably go back to because, like, I now understand the From Software approach, and that was a series I never understood until Bloodborne. That's one of those games where once I broke through that veil of difficulty, I was like, oh, these are incredible games that I was just not willing to, or was not patient enough to get to the parts where I understood how good it was. And so those are series that I that did not want to like, but did end up liking. Which, thank you so much for the question. Honestly,
yeah,
very, very good, Dabian. If you want your questions answered in a next episode of All Elite Arcade, you can go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. Send your questions if you're in North America. We answer 3 roughly every single episode. It is by far our favorite part of the show. We thank you for your questions, and we thank you for listening. We'll be in every single Monday. If you hit that subscribe button on your podcast network of choice, we're available everywhere in the wee mornings on Monday. If you want to watch our beautiful faces and see some of the clips of the games we're actively playing, go to youtube.com/awgames. That is where our video format drops every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time. Plus, if you get in the comment section, I'm typically in there responding and reading those things as well. Let's start a little bit of a discussion on youtube.com/awgames. Chugs, what are you doing on Twitch this week?
Well, you can find me on Twitch this week at twitch.tv/thechugs. Very exciting week. First and foremost, I am starting my first ever playthrough of Final Fantasy VI, regarded as one of the greatest Final Fantasies of all time. So I'm so excited because I've never played it. Going to continue, maybe finish Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. Going to continue Ender Magnolia. Going to continue Silent Hill 3, and also, again, going to continue the final DLC, the Blood and Wine DLC in The Witcher 3. So it's going to be a super fun week filled with a lot of awesome games, all different genres, all different types. So once again, twitch.tv/thechugs if you're interested.
If you want to follow my journey through Donkey Kong, go to twitch.tv/eviluno. This is the week I believe I will beat Donkey Kong 64. I'm at the gauntlet part. I have to do the 2 arcades, and I got to do the boss. There will be a couple Twitch streams this week where I will attempt that. Hopefully that will be it, because the bongos are on my kitchen table right now and I cannot wait to play them. And then on top of that, special event on my Twitch, twitch.tv/eviluno, April 27th, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can watch some free professional wrestling because I will be presenting Mystery Wrestling 15. Myself and John Silver will be on commentary. The rest of the card, it's a mystery. Go to twitch.tv/eviluno on April 27th, that's a Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to watch it for free. Thank you, everyone that listens to this podcast. Thank you for hitting that follow button. Thanks for sharing it for everyone. We appreciate your support, and we will be back next Monday with more All Elite Arcade. Bye-bye.